is the 49th anniversary of the 1971 war with Pakistan, and on this occasion today I stand here near the Bangladesh border, somewhere in the Meghalaya-Bangladesh borderline. And here I'm going to explain what happened in that war. This analysis becomes necessary because each country involved in the conflict has institutionalized a different memory of the events of that year. In Bangladesh, the war is remembered as the Bengali people's struggle against an oppressive Pakistan army, which stemmed from the racial prejudice of West Pakistani Punjab against Bengali-speaking East Pakistanis, who were more numerous in number but had been prevented from forming a legitimate government of Pakistan. In India, it is remembered as the great revival of the Indian Army after the ignominious defeat by China in 1962. It showed the world India's ability to comprehensively defeat an adversary in war. In Pakistan, the war is often remembered as a big humiliation, as the average Pakistani has harbored a notion of being superior to Hindu India. The creation of a new nation based on ethnicity rather than religion also brought into question the very foundation of Pakistan, as it debunked the so-called two-nation theory, which states that religion can be the sole reason for nationhood. Today, Bangladesh, Pakistan and India have their own closely held war stories and narratives, with 1971 taking on different meanings across the subcontinent. The struggle for Bengali rights started shortly after Pakistan was created. Pakistan was an oddity as a country, as it comprised two incontiguous territories known as West Pakistan, which is today's Pakistan, and East Pakistan, which is today's Bangladesh. The refusal to accept Bengali as a state language of Pakistan in the early years after the partition, economic disparity between the two parts, and the hegemony of the West Pakistani ruling elite over Pakistan, martial laws, and a demeaning attitude towards Bengali culture and the Bengali population soured relations between the two parts. Tensions rose in December 1970 when the Awami League Party, led by Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, also known as Mujib, based in East Pakistan, won the national elections, but the West Pakistan Party, namely the Pakistan People's Party, PPP for short, refused to hand over power. Tensions between Bengalis and Biharis, the Urdu-speaking communities that had moved to East Pakistan from different parts of India after the partition and were seen as pro-West Pakistanis, rose, which led to attacks on some Bihari communities. In March 1971, using the violence as an excuse, the Pakistan Army intervened to stem the growth of nationalist sentiments in the East. In India, the war is fondly recalled as the nation's finest win, a testament to its military prowess and superiority. As revenge for Pakistan having broken India in 1947 because of the partition. Having lost the Indo-Sino War in 1962 and having only achieved a ceasefire in the first two wars of 1948 and 1965 with Pakistan, the victory in 1971 became the symbolic of India, signaling that it was on its way to becoming a regional superpower. The War of 1971 thus remains central in India, tied both to the savior narrative as well as the question of who truly belongs. For Pakistan, it was a forgotten conflict. In Pakistan, the state has restored to selective forgetting of what happened in 1971. To this day, the Pakistani narrative makes some exaggerated claims such as Indian-influenced Hindu teachers manipulating students and breeding secessionist sentiments in East Pakistan. Furthermore, as a new independence struggles erupted in the region in the form of the Khalistan movement for a separate Sikh state and in the movement in Kashmir, Scholars have argued that Pakistan resorted to using similar strategies to those India had in East Pakistan to support these movements. While the US has warmed up to India over the last 2 decades, it may come as a surprise that the US strongly stood behind Pakistan during the 1971 war. When the West Pakistani troops were committing shocking atrocities against the peaceful crowd under Mujib, the US President Nixon and the Secretary of State Henry Kissinger shut their eyes to the same. This came in the face of many cables sent to them by the US Consul General Archer Blood posted in Dhaka, outlining the atrocities and urging Nixon to use his influence over Pakistani Premier Yahya Khan and asked him to stop, most famous of which is now known as the Blood Telegram, shaming the US government for not intervening. The fact that makes Blood's word credible and believable was that he knew that sending those cables and telegrams would not help his career, but he was willing to sacrifice it if it stopped the atrocities. Alas, the US didn't intervene. This is a testimony to their idleness and cowardice in taking action when it was most needed. To this day, the Pakistan Army Museum in Lahore, Pakistan has put up a plaque which labels Bengali Movement for Independence as Indian-sponsored terrorism. Almost 50 years after the Pakistan Lieutenant General A.A.K. Niazi signed the Instrument of Surrender, 1971 remains poignant both at the people's level and the state level in Bangladesh, India and Pakistan. That's all for today, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.